What if I told you that one of the world's first great civilizations wasn't in Egypt or Mesopotamia, but right here in the Americas? We're talking about a massive city of pyramids and plazas that rose and fell 1,000 years before the Maya even got started. Okay, let's dive into this incredible forgotten story.
It's the kind of question that sounds crazy, right? But for archaeologists in Peru, the answer was a mind-blowing yes. Hidden away in the coastal deserts is a mystery that completely rewrites the timeline of civilization. A city that was thriving at the exact same time as the very first pharaohs.
But what makes this story just truly wild is how it all happened. See, unlike the ancient cultures of the Old World, which were constantly trading ideas and tech, this civilization just popped up, completely on its own, separated from everyone else by two giant oceans. It was like this unique human experiment in building a society from scratch. It really suggests that the drive to build big, complex communities isn't something you have to borrow. It's just a fundamental part of who we are everywhere.
So yeah, we're talking about the city of Caral. It's tucked away in the Supe River Valley in Peru, and it's the heart of what we now call the Norte Chico civilization. And honestly, it stands as this incredible monument to a past we almost completely forgot.
Now, to really get your head around how big a deal this is, you have to look at the timeline. Caral wasn't just some early American city. It was one of the world's very first urban centers. It was a contemporary of ancient Sumeria. And get this, it's over 1,500 years older than the famous Olmecs in Mexico. I mean, this discovery just changes the entire story of civilization in the Americas.
So, the big question is, how did a society in the middle of a desert valley pull this off? Well, the answer is a mix of some brilliant innovation and a really unique economic model that connected the ocean to the mountains.
For a long time, the experts were kind of scratching their heads about how it all got started. Did their power come from all the fish in the Pacific? Or did it all spring from them mastering farming further inland? Turns out both were super important, but the real genius of Caral was how they managed to link the two together.
And this is where it gets really clever. They created this brilliant economic loop. The people and land at Caral used advanced irrigation to grow just massive amounts of cotton, but they didn't use it for clothes. Instead, they wove it into these incredibly strong fishing nets. Then, they trade those nets to the communities on the coast in exchange for a constant supply of fish. This amazing system of trade and cooperation is what fueled their growth into a regional superpower.
And they didn't just build an economy, they built a city. A real, honest-to-goodness metropolis with a complex social ladder, breathtaking architecture, and a really vibrant cultural life. At its peak, the whole Caral Supe society might have been home to over 20,000 people. This wasn't just one settlement. It was a whole network of towns and villages, all kind of orchestrated from the capital city, Caral.
The city itself was a masterpiece of urban planning. It was ruled by leaders they called Caracas. The whole place was physically split into an upper half, the Hanan, where the priests and the elite lived, and a lower half, the Harin, for everybody else. The skyline was dominated by these 7 huge temple pyramids and these really distinctive sunken circular plazas. It just screams of a highly organized, very layered society.
And check this out. Inside one of those big ceremonial plazas, archaeologists dug up this amazing treasure that tells you just how sophisticated their culture was. 32 flutes, all intricately carved from the bones of condors and pelicans. I mean, you could almost hear the music that must have filled those plazas 5,000 years ago.
But living in this part of the world came with a unique and, violent challenge. Caral is located in one of the most seismically active zones on the entire planet. So to build massive stone pyramids here, they had to invent a solution to a problem that engineers still struggle with today. How do you build a city that won't just collapse in an earthquake?
Their answer was pure genius, a technology called shikras. These were basically just large, woven bags made from reeds, which they packed full of loose rocks. They didn't just use them to carry the stones, they actually used them as building blocks.
So here's how it worked. They would place these bags of loose stones inside the foundations and the walls of their pyramids. They basically created ancient shock absorbers. When an earthquake hit, the rocks inside the shikras would shift and settle, spreading out the seismic energy. This allowed these massive structures to kind of flex instead of shattering. It's an incredible technology that let their monument survive for millennia.
So for 1,000 years, Caral thrived. Its people were master builders, they were innovators, they were amazing organizers. But even their incredible ingenuity
couldn't save them from a series of cataclysms that would eventually just erase their entire civilization from history. It likely all began with the very disaster their engineering was designed for. Around 1820 BC, geological data tells us a massive earthquake, something like a 7.2 magnitude, just rocked the region. And while the Shikras might have saved the pyramids from totally collapsing, that quake was only the first domino to fall. That huge earthquake happened to coincide with a powerful El Niño event. That's a climate pattern that brings extreme warming to the Pacific Ocean. This caused insane amounts of rain, catastrophic floods, and landslides. And as if that wasn't enough, it was immediately followed by its evil twin, La Niña, which brought a crippling long-term drought. It was, quite literally, a perfect storm of destruction.
The consequences just cascade, one after another, until there was nothing left. The floods clogged up their vital irrigation canals, which meant their entire agricultural system just collapsed. Sand from the coast was blown miles inland, burying whatever fields were left. That brilliant economic engine of trading cotton for fish, it just ground to a halt. Famine set in, and the people of Caral had no choice but abandon their magnificent city and simply flee.
For nearly 4,000 years, the city lay buried under sand, its story totally forgotten. But rediscovering it now offers us some pretty profound lessons about the relationship between a civilization, its ingenuity, and the environment it depends on. You know, as one expert puts it, disasters don't just destroy things. They also reveal the vulnerabilities that were already there inside a society. They force change. And for the people of Caral, that change was total. New cultures and new ideas would rise from the ashes, but that great mother city, it was gone forever.
Ultimately, the legacy of Caral is a paradox, isn't it? On one hand, you have a civilization of geniuses who built earthquake-proof pyramids and created this complex society in total isolation. But on the other hand, their story is this powerful and honestly humbling reminder that no amount of ingenuity can make a society invincible to the overwhelming forces of climate and nature.
And that really leaves us with one final, urgent question. The people of Caral saw their world completely upended by climate shifts that they couldn't control. As we face our own environmental challenges today, their 5,000-year-old story is echoing through time with a warning that we really can't afford to ignore.